Hello, hello. How are you? How are you today? Hello. What are you doing? And what were you doing this week? Do you have any plans for this weekend? Any plans for this weekend? It's interesting to know. For example, I'm going to have a get together with my I'm good, creative. Great. I'm going to have a get together with my friends um, from the dormitory, and because we haven't seen each other for a long time. We haven't seen each other for 3 years. And I would like really to meet them, to speak with them. It's exciting. I'm excited. What about you? Yeah, really. We haven't seen each other for about 3 years. We were living in the dormitory back at the time we were at university, and I'm really excited to speak with them, to play some board games. It's very exciting, I should say. I'm going camping. Great. That's interesting. I have been camping 2 weeks ago, it seems to me. I didn't really like it, but once a year, that's fine. We were 2 nights and 2 days and 2 nights. I couldn't say that it's very, very interesting, but it was good. It just to hang out with friends, to have fun with them. It's okay. But really to return, not really. Okay, any other plans for the weekend? So I'm having a get together like that. Also, I would like to say that this week is a project week. So I'm waiting for your projects. Second, I'm going to send you the link. And today, this week, the project will be about about space, right? Just a second. I would like to share the screen here. This week, there will be a project about space. So anything you want, you can send. Maybe you have some compositions, maybe you have some PowerPoint presentations, some photos, something on the paper. So take a photo and download it and upload it to the Google folder that I've sent. It will be a pleasure for me to read them, to watch them. So I will be very excited to look at it. Okay, fine. So the deadline is the next week. I would be really grateful to look at them, to enjoy them. Cool. That's great. Just a second.
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently.
Oh my God, that's usually okay. Fine. I'm just looking at this folder, whether you can download everything. Yeah, right. You can download everything. Good. Thanks a lot. Fine. Let's start. Let's start. Just a second. So this week you've learned modals, modal verbs, and all the vocabulary connected with space, right? So let's have a look at the vocabulary. Let's have a look at the modals. So what are modal verbs? Modals are called modal verbs or modal auxiliary verbs, are special verbs that behave irregularly in English. They are different from normal verbs like work, play, visit. They give additional information about the function of the main verb that follows it. So there is additional information in every modal verb. So it has the meaning inside that gives the meaning to the verb that it follows. They have a great variety of communicative functions. Here are some characteristics of modal verbs. They never change their form. Rule number 1, you can't add s, ed, ing, irregularity or anything. They are always followed by an infinitive without to. All of them are followed by the infinitive without to. Please pay attention that all of them, I again will repeat, will be followed by bare infinitive, the infinitive without to. You can ask me, what about have to or ought to? I will tell you that they are modal verbs in such form. Must is must, have to is have to. Have to is can't, for example, be without to. It's always without to. This to is not about the modal, is not about the verb after to. Have to usually, as a rule, it is always with to. You can't remove it. Ought to is the same. That's why you use verb without to everywhere. They are used to indicate modality and allow speakers to express certainty, possibility, willingness, obligation, necessity, and ability. Let's have a look at the list of them. The verbs or expressions dare, ought to, had better, and need not behave like modal auxiliaries to a large extent and may be added to the above list. So had better and all of the verbs that have a modal meaning, they are also modal verbs. So there are modal verbs of permission, ability, obligation, prohibition, lack of necessity, advice, possibility, and probability. Here are the list of the examples. Must. Must expresses strong obligation. You must stop when the traffic lights turn red. You must stop when the traffic lights turn red. So strong, very, very strong obligation. Logical conclusion or certainty. He must be very tired. He's been working all day long. He must be very tired. You are 100% sure. Must not. Prohibition. You mustn't smoke in the hospital. When it's prohibition, it's prohibited. It's a rule. You mustn't smoke at the you mustn't smoke in the hospital. Can expresses ability. I can swim. I can jump. I can read. Permission. Can I use your phone, please? Can I use your phone, please? Permission. You ask for permission. Possibility. Smoking can cause cancer. Maybe, right? Perhaps. Snakes can bite you. Smoking can cause cancer. Could expresses ability in the past. When I was younger, I could run fast. Also, speaking about could in the past, there are also such things as managed to. It's when something was very difficult to do. I managed to run a marathon. It was very difficult, but I managed to do it. It has the same meaning as can, could, but it has the meaning that something was very difficult. There is also able to. Able to is used to express can in the future. For example, I will able to speak fluently English in the future, because we can't use can in the future. And also, able to is used in the past, were able to speak about a specific ability. I was able to open the door without a key yesterday. So it was a very specific moment. I was able to open the door without a key yesterday. Polite permission. Excuse me, could I just stay? Could I just say something? Could I use a phone? Yeah, a very polite permission. And possibility. It could rain tomorrow. Also, can, could. The same. May. May expresses permission. May I use your phone, please? May I use your phone, please? Possibility or probability. It may rain tomorrow. It may rain tomorrow. It expresses the possible. Maybe something will be possible, maybe not. Okay, might. Might expresses polite permission. May I suggest an idea? May I suggest an idea? Possibility and probability. May and might are very close to each other. I might go on holiday to Australia next year. Maybe, it's probable. But if it's might, it's very low probability. Needn't. Lack of necessity or absence of obligation. I need not buy tomatoes. There are plenty of tomatoes in the fridge. I needn't buy tomatoes. There are plenty of tomatoes in the fridge. Should, ought to. 50% of obligation, right? I should, ought to see a doctor. I have a terrible headache. So it's like must, but it's a bit lower than must. I should see a doctor. I have a terrible headache. Advice. You should, ought to revise your lessons. Logical conclusion. He should, ought to be very tired. It's deduction called. He should, ought to be very tired. And had better. Advice. You'd better revise your lessons. Yeah, you'd better. So it's advice. You'd better revise your lessons. Must is very strong. Remember, modal verbs are followed by an infinitive without to, also called the bare infinitive. You must stop when the traffic lights turn red. You should see the doctor. There are a lot of tomatoes in the fridge. You needn't buy any. Okay, let's practice. I will tell you about past models, but it's after the video. I would like to show you the video. So let's have a look at the video. Just let me find. Let's have a look at the video and at the woman explaining the differences between these words.
Hi, I'm Rebecca from Ingvid. In this lesson, you'll learn how to use modal verbs properly and how to avoid making the most common mistakes that students sometimes make when using these special helping verbs. Now, even though modal verbs doesn't sound that exciting, when you see what they are, you'll realize that we use these verbs all the time. And so you need to know how to use them correctly, right? Okay, so let's look at what modal verbs are. So these are words that express different kinds of things. For example, they might express ability, possibility, permission, obligation, okay? And some other things like that. And they behave differently from regular verbs. And that's why they're sometimes a little bit confusing. But let's look at some examples of what modal verbs are. Can, could.
If you are searching for the right keywords, you should try Keyword Magic Tool by SEM.
May, might, should, ought to, must, have to, will, shall, and would. Okay, these are the most common ones. All right, so I'm going to give you now 3 basic rules that you can follow to avoid most of the mistakes that are usually made with the modal verbs. Okay, so first of all, make sure to use the modal verb as is. That means don't change it in the present or the past or the future. For example, we can say, he can swim. This is a correct sentence. It would be wrong to say, he cans swim, because here the student put an extra S there, all right? And we don't need to change that modal verb ever, okay? All right. Second, use the base form of the verb after a modal. Don't use to. What do I mean by that? For example, you should say, he might join us, not he might to join us, okay? This is a really common error, so make sure you don't make this one. So don't use the full infinitive, to join, after a word like might. Just use the base form of the verb, which is join. He might join us. He could join us. He should join us. He must join us, and so on, without to. All right? Very good. Now, the next point is, if you need to use the modal verb in the negative form, then just use not after the modal. All right? Don't add any extra words most of the time. There's one little exception. I'll explain that to you. But for most of them, don't use words like don't, or doesn't, or isn't, aren't, wasn't, won't. Okay? So with most of these modal verbs, just say not. For example, you should not smoke. Not, you don't should smoke. All right? So here the student knows and learned all these lovely words, don't, doesn't, isn't, aren't, all that, and try to use it when using the modal verb, but that's wrong. Okay? So the only exception is with the verb with the modal verb have to, there if you want to make it negative, you need to say you don't have to do this, okay? But with the other ones, we just say you cannot, you could not, you may not, you might not, you should not, you ought not to, okay? So there you have to be careful where to place it. You must not. This one I told you is an exception. You will not, you shall not, and you would not, okay? And the other thing to keep in mind, when you're using this word and not, this is a really common mistake. So the important thing to remember, this actually becomes one word, okay? Only in that case. You don't say can, you say cannot, but it's actually one word, all right? Most of the time, almost always, not is a separate word with all of the other modal verbs, but not with can. With can, it actually becomes one word. I cannot arrive, okay? On time, like that. Okay, so now that you've got these basic rules and you've understood how it works, let's do some practice to see how well you've understood. Okay, so let's get started with our exercises. Now, the rules are written at the top just in case you didn't remember them exactly. First one, remember, use it as it is. Don't change the modal verb. Second one, use with the base verb. Don't use the full infinitive to something. And the last one, use not after the modals when it's negative. Okay? All right. Try to keep those in mind. But most of all, let's look at the actual examples and you tell me what's wrong with them. There is something wrong with each and every one of these sentences. Okay. Number one, you must to finish your homework. You must to finish your homework. What's wrong there? What did the person do wrong? They added to, all right? This was our second rule, right? You cannot use to. Just say you must finish your homework, okay? That's it. Number two, I don't can drive. I don't can drive. That's wrong. What should it be? I cannot drive, okay? That's what we said here in the third rule, right? That just use not when it's negative, all right? And remember, with the word cannot, it's one word, all right? Number three, you should not to smoke. You should not to smoke. What's wrong there? Okay, again, we want to take out this to. The sentence should be, you should not smoke. So again, you don't want to use the to. Just use the base form of the verb. Don't use the full infinitive. Okay, number four. We not could call you. We not could call you, some people say, but it's not right. What should it be? We could not call you. Remember, not goes after the modal. Okay, not anywhere else. He might go to sleep. He might go to sleep. It's not right. It should be he might go to sleep. Okay, this was our rule number one here at the top. And the rule was that we don't change anything, right? We just say he might go to sleep. We never change the modal, right? Next, number six, they can to stay with us. Somebody says very kindly, they can to stay with us. It's a very kind suggestion. It's not grammatically correct. Let's make it correct. What do we need to take out? This, okay? It should be just, they can stay. They can go. They can leave. They can come, whatever. But no to, all right? So this was our rule number two, okay? All right, number seven. We would not to arrive on time. We would not to arrive on time. Again, you want to take out this too. And the reason why this keeps happening is because This is the most common mistake. All right, so that's why I have more of those here for you to review. We would not arrive on time. Good. And the last one, she wills return soon. She wills return soon. Okay, so what's wrong there? The first rule up here, okay? The rule says that the modal verb doesn't change. And here it did get changed. So we have to take out the S and then it will become she will return soon, which is correct. Okay? I know there are a few things to keep in mind, but the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. So please go to our website, www.ingvid.com. There you can do a quiz on this, and you can also watch lots of other
Okay. Thanks a lot for watching. I like her and I like her video because she presents the most common mistakes that are made by students who learn these modal verbs. Right, now let's have a look at another point. Sorry. Just a second, I'm going to check the chat. Right. The point, which is also very important. About modal verbs. Let's take a look at the modal verbs could have, would have, and should have. These past tense modals are useful for expressing your present feelings about past decisions. Could have, would have, and should have are sometimes called models of lost opportunities. They work like a grammatical time machine. The simple past just tells what happened. Past modals tell what could have, would have, and should have happened in the past. To form these past models, we use could, would, and should, and any other modal verb, followed by have, always by have, plus past participle. Use have for all pronouns. Never use has or had to form a past modal. Here are some examples. She could have gone to any college she wanted to. She could have gone to any college she wanted to. She could have gone, could have gone. I would have gone to the party, but I was tired. I would have gone to the party, but I was tired. She should have told the truth. He should have told the truth about what he saw. He should have told the truth about what he saw. Each of these models has a slightly different meaning. We'll look at each of them using examples from movies and popular songs. Could have. We'll start with could have. Could have means that something was possible in the past, but it didn't happen. I could have gone directly to college, but I decided to travel for a year. Could have been so beautiful, could have been so right, could have been my lover every day of my life. That's often native speakers don't often pronounce past modals as clearly as this song. Could have been usually just contracted could have been gets contracted to could have been. Let's listen to one more. You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum. That's from a song on the waterfront. To form the negative with these models, use not between could and have. Couldn't have means that something was impossible in the past. For example, she couldn't have been on that flight because I just saw her at work. She could not have been on that flight. She couldn't have been. Defense lawyers often use couldn't have to argue for a client's innocence. A popular compliment in English is I couldn't have said it better myself. You can say this: when you like the way somebody said something, it's a way to show strong agreement. I couldn't have said it better myself. Would have. Let's move to would have. Would have is a bit more difficult because it has two common structures. The first is with but. I would have A, but I had to be B. Use this structure to show that you wanted to do something in the past, but you couldn't. I would have called, but there was no phone service. I would have loaned you the money, but I didn't have any. Would have also forms the result clause of a past unreal conditional. For example, if I had known they were vegetarians, I would have made a salad. You can always reverse conditional sentences if would have comes first. There is no comma. I would have made a salad if I had known they were vegetarians. No comma in this sentence. Past and real conditionals are very complex. You can learn more about them a bit later, because today we are going to talk about modals. Would have suggest a bad feeling about the past, but not always. In this song by the band Chicago, the singer is surprisingly happy that his ex-girlfriend cheated on him. Her infidelity gave him the opportunity to meet someone else, and that someone else turned out to be his true love. If she would have been faithful, if she could have been true, then I wouldn't have been cheated. I wouldn't never real love. I would have missed out on you. Should have. Finally, let's look at should have. Should have means that something didn't happen, but we wish it happened. We use should have to talk about past mistakes. A worried mother might say, I was so worried about you. You should have called. Should have is common in apologies. For example, I'm sorry that I'm late for work. I should have woken up earlier. You might remember movie Forrest Gump. And in the movie, Dan loses both of his legs in the Vietnam War. He would have died, but Forrest saved him. Listen for should have as Dan confronts Forrest. You listen to me. We all have a destiny. Nothing just happens. It's all part of a plan. I should have died out there with my man, but now I'm nothing but a cripple. Should have can be used in a light-hearted way. In this song, Toby Keith imagines how exciting his life would be if he had chosen to be a cowboy. I should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope and ride, wearing my 6-shooter, riding my pony on a cattle drive. I couldn't have said it better myself. As you can see, these models of lost opportunities offer a colorful way to talk about past choices. That's all for now about past models, and let's go on with the practice. So fill in the correct modal. Fill in the correct modal. When he was 5 years old, he speak English and Greek, but he speak Chinese or Spanish. Right, there is here. So when he was 5 years old, he could speak English and Greek, but he couldn't speak Chinese or Spanish. Right? He could speak, but he couldn't. In the future, travel to other planets for vacation. In the future, we will be able to travel, right? We might, or we will travel, right? Will is a modal verb, by the way. You will bring your English books to school today because the class was canceled. You needn't have brought. It means that you brought, but you didn't need to do it. You needn't have brought your English books to school today because the class was canceled. It rains, so bring an umbrella just in case. It might rain, it may rain, it might rain, doesn't matter. Can rain, also could rain. Better to use could, rain, may, and might. At our school, we have to wear uniforms. It's a drag. Do you have to wear uniforms at your school? Let's check. Have to, must. I'd rather use have to, because have to means that it's not your obligation. It's not you who decide. It's the school who decide to do it. That's why you have to use have to. Right. My mother spent a week by the sea every summer when she was a child. My mother would spend a week. Or I would use would, used to spend, right? And would spend is a good one. In my school, we smoke even outside in the schoolyard. We mustn't smoke, right? A very strong prohibition. You mustn't smoke. Oh, I study for the math test. The teacher was absent that day. Bummer. I needn't have studied for the math test, right? I needn't have revised, right? Or I didn't have to study for the math test. The teacher was absent that day. Bummer. We be quiet in class, and my teacher is always telling us that we study more. We must be quiet. And my teacher is always telling us that we should study more or ought to study more. His dentist was horrified that his teeth had turned black. You had better take care. You'd better take care of your teeth, right? And the last one, I help you with that math problem. It looks difficult. Can I help you? May I help you? Or could I help you with that math problem? Okay, right. Let's play a little bit. Just a second, it doesn't want. Okay. Let's play. So what can we do? What might we do or need we do in these places? Go play, do. Pizza. Let's choose the modal verb and try to make a sentence. For example, at the weekend, I might go to the pizza shop and buy some pizzas. What else? At the weekend, I I might buy some pizzas, so my friends will enjoy it at the end of their working week. Good. Let's spin. Football. At the weekend, my friends usually play football. That's why I might go to the football pitch and watch their game and root for my friends, for example. Or mhm, at the weekend, all people have to watch football game because it's Ukraine playing. For example, that's not true, of course. Okay. Cinema. Okay. At this cinema, you can't record films and content at the cinema. You mustn't throw rubbish on the floor at the cinema, and you must be quiet at the hall of the cinema. Okay, we have pizza. Let's choose friends because pizza was before. Friends. With friends, you have to be careful with the words because some of your words can be a bit harsh and can be a bit offensive, like that. Computer games. Computer games. Mustn't you mustn't play computer games a lot because computer games influence your psychological state and your health state of health condition generally. Okay. Friends, there were friends. Let's okay, museum. At the museum, you have to be careful with the artifacts and you mustn't touch them. Sometimes you are not allowed and you can't take photos of some of the artifacts, and you have to be quiet in the museum. TV. Okay, so speaking about TV, you don't maybe you don't have to buy satellite TV because you have internet access to your TV, and you mustn't watch TV in the complete darkness because it damages your eyesight. In the museum, Sasha writes, you mustn't. Oh wow, cool. You mustn't smoke. In the evening, I might cook pizza. My football team can win. You mustn't take a video in the cinema. My friend can help me at any time. Very good, Sasha. Great. Brilliant. Right. Where is my full screen? Yeah. And the last one. Let's maybe not the last one. Basketball. I might play basketball in the evening, right? Basketball can be dangerous sometimes, can be a dangerous sport sometimes. What about you? Okay, I wanted shopping mall, but it was on cinema. Let it be shopping mall. In the shopping mall, you mustn't come there after the closing. What else? At the shopping mall, you I don't know. You can't walk without a mask. Yeah, you can't do that. What else can't we do in the shopping mall? Okay. Let's move on. Do you have any questions about models? Because it's a very difficult topic. Maybe you have questions about past models or anything. Can you please share in the chat box? Oh, somewhere I lost the webinar chat. It somewhere disappeared. It somewhere disappeared, the chat. Oh my God. Let me find it. Okay, right. I found it. Thanks God. While I'm looking, oh, I found. Okay, no, let's go. Now, what about the words connected with space? Can you think of the words connected to space to each of the letters? Let's think about it. So A, astronaut, right? Astronaut. What else? Asteroid, right? Asteroid. Why not? Astronomy, right? Astronaut, but astronomy. Atmosphere. Atmosphere. B, black hole, right? Black hole. Why not? Atmosphere, right, Sasha? Good one. Right. Axis. Is it about space axis? B, black hole, right? C, celestial body. C, celestial body. Comet, cosmology. What about D? I don't know. For D, I don't know. Maybe some names of planets, but I don't know. E, eclipse, right? E, eclipse. G, a lot of galaxy, right? Galaxy, giant planet, maybe gas giant. What about H? Nope. I, nope. J, also, I don't know anything. K, I also don't know anything. What about L? Light year, right? Light year. It takes several light years. Meteorite, Milky Way, right? Milky Way, and nebula, right? Nebula. By the way, nebula is a large cloud of dust in space. It's nebula. Often detect. Okay, very good. Detect. Nebula also. It's a cloud of dust with the help of which a lot of planets and stars are created. Nuclear, something nuclear, maybe. I don't know. I know for O, orbit, right? Orbit. Planet. P, planet. S, solar system, sun, satellite, star, supernova. Supernova, it's a huge explosion that caused star collapse. Supernova. T, telescope, right? And U, universe. Universe, right? So all of these things are connected. A, also alien, yeah, astronaut, comet, moon base, satellite, space shuttle, right? Space station, we forgot about that. Space station, satellite. Okay, so let's have a look. Space is to place as eternity is to time. Space is to place as eternity is to time. So do you agree with that? Because I quite agree. We can't measure space and we can't understand how big it is, as well as eternity. We don't understand. It's without, it's endless. That intelligent creatures exist in outer space is proven by the fact that they haven't contacted us. Maybe it's very funny fact. As long as we are a single planet species, we are vulnerable to extinction by a planet-wide catastrophe, natural or self-induced. Once we become a multi-planet species, our chances to live long and prosper will take a huge leap skyward. I don't quite agree, because maybe if there is a life on other planets, space is eternal and we can't understand how big it is, or how eternal it is, right? Let's play. Oh no, something happened with the. Let's discuss these questions for the last 5 minutes. When do you think people will visit Mars? What do you think they will find there? Can you please type in the chat box your answers? When do you think people will visit Mars? I think people will visit Mars maybe in 50 years or in 100 years. So I don't quite know. But it would be very interesting to know. What do you think they will find there? I think they will find just a dust planet with a very high temperature, and I don't think that there will be really living conditions as we think. Name as many planets as you can in English. Draw them in the correct position to the sun. I don't know about that. Jupiter, Mars, Venus. What is a satellite? If you know, can you please type in the chat box? What is a satellite? What are they used for? How would life be different without them? So a satellite is a natural or artificial object that is in orbit around a planet. A satellite is used for many purposes. Among several other applications, they can be used to make star maps, maps of planetary surfaces, and also to take pictures of planets they are launched into. That's maps, satellites, right? Okay, what about other stuff? Do you think there is other life in the universe? And what kind of life? What would aliens look like? I think there is other life in the universe. What kind of life? To my mind, aliens would look like, so there are different types of, not genetically, but cell constructions. And depending on this cell construction, there are different types of organisms. For example, we are oxygen-based or hydrogen-based, I don't remember. Humans are hydrogen-based. Right. Is made of just 4 elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Right. We are carbon-based life forms. And there can be only several. If, for example, we take oxygen-based or any other based life forms, they will look differently. Because aliens, as we see them on TV, they walk and they have very similar features to humans, but that's not true. If aliens are oxygen based as we are, so they will look exactly like we look, they will look like we look. If they are a little bit different based life forms, that they will look drastically differently. Okay, so you can, right, in 2050, Sasha writes that we are going to explore Mars. Good. So I'm waiting for your project. Thanks a lot for joining me today, and see you on Friday next week. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend. Don't forget about the project.